Every time you do a bad drill, you're putting a silent tax on your skills, making you a worse lacrosse player. I'm going to explain how you can avoid doing that and apply the lab training cycle framework to improve every time you step on the field. These lessons have come hard-earned after training the wrong way for years and realizing how far back I set myself. If you listen to this, you can avoid my mistakes and shave years off your training. Here's the issue with how most players train. They have a set of drills that they got from someone who knows where, and they go and do them over and over, and they never change them. And not changing drills isn't a bad thing by itself. When you go to college, you basically do the same drills a lot of the time for 4 years straight. And there's a reason for that, because college coaches know what good drills are. They know what they're doing. So you might perform the same drill over and over, but it's good because you're putting in the correct reps, the correct form, and you're getting slight variations with high competition. The issue is when you're in high school or when you're a youth player and you go to the field and you come with a list of drills, who knows where you got them from? They probably aren't very good. And if you think they're good, they're still probably not good. Because when I was in high school and when I was like in 7th, 8th grade, the drills that I were doing were like awful. And I had no idea. So I spent 4, 5 years doing the same drills over and over and over. Now, the mild effect of this is that you do the same drills over and over and maybe you don't improve that much. And that's fine. That's what happened with a lot of people. Most of the drills you do, they just won't make you much better, right? You'll kind of cap out. You'll do them a lot. You'll get really good at them and you sort of start maintaining. But the issue is some drills are so bad and they're disguised as good, but they can be so bad that they carve bad habits into your brain. And here's what happens. When you spend 5 years doing the same thing over and over and it's not what you're supposed to be doing, think about how long it takes to get that out of your brain. Because lacrosse is a game of quick movements. You don't think as much when you're on the field. At least you probably shouldn't be. It's just reaction. And reaction is just habits in disguise. So if every day I do footwork and I do it the wrong way, and I go out to the field and I tell myself I'm going to do footwork a different way in this game, that's not how it works. Your body just does the footwork that you've been practicing over and over. This can be powerful, but it can also set us so far back. Because if we're doing the right drills, right, we're performing the right way, we're doing the right footwork, and then we go out to the field, our bodies will perform the right way and give us the most optimal outcome. But if we're doing the wrong drills and we go out to the field, we're going to play awful, even if we want to play a different way. So choosing the right drills is so important. But I say this because if you go on the internet, you're going to find some good drills and some bad drills. There's a lot of really good resources, but it's really hard to discern or to choose which ones are good or which ones are bad. So I can't give you much advice on that because it's so broad for position, for whatever, for scenario. There's so many drills. Here's what I can say. Even if you're using good drills, this is a framework that you should be applying and that will get you out of bad drills and will make good drills even better. I call it like the lab training cycle or the researcher training. So in scientific research, like I'm a failed biochem major, so I have very minimal experience with science, but we did a good amount of research. And the very basic level of research, you have a hypothesis and then you experiment and you can see if you prove your hypothesis right. So in lacrosse, our hypothesis will be if I do this collection of drills over this period of time, I will improve, or I'll go D1, or I'll get this many stats, I'll make varsity, whatever it is. And your experiment is the training plan or the drills that you follow. Now, if you're starting out, your hypothesis is going to be pretty bad. Like your drills that you have are probably not going to be great because, again, it's hard to tell what good drills are. Just like if a scientific researcher went into a field and decided to try to form a new reaction to get some new product or something like that, they would probably fail a lot to begin with, and that's okay. But here's what you need to do to fail the correct way and then iterate so that you find the drills that work for you and you get to that level. Now, first step is to track your training, because if you don't track what you're doing, you won't be able to iterate from it because you don't know what things are making you better, what things are making you worse. And we don't live in a perfect world. So even if I write down all the things I do on a daily basis, it's still hard to tell whether one thing or the other is giving me the outcome that I want. So if I do like 6 drills, it's hard to tell whether one of them is making me a better shooter compared to the other. But if you don't track at all, you're not going to get even close to the outcome. So the first step is just to track. Real quick, I just released a Gile podcast where it's a lot of content like this. I'm just talking straight into the mic, a little more free form. If you want more of this type of stuff, check the link in the description to check out the Gile podcast and get more lacrosse advice. Then after you track for maybe 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, change something in your training. This is the only way you're going to be able to tell if something was good or bad. So change maybe either the format, how many days you're resting, or change the drills you're doing on your shooting day. Maybe shift more towards situational shooting drills, or maybe switch more to less shots and more powerful shots. And then once you do that, you'll see at that week if you feel better or worse. So if I decide to take 50% less shots, but do them 50% harder, I mean not 50% harder, but harder, right? So harder shots, less amount of them. Then 2 weeks later, I'll see if I feel like I saw some improvement, or if I enjoyed that training more than I did the previous time. And if I didn't, then you scrap it and go back to what you did before. And if you did, then you move on and you add that to your training plan and eliminate what you're doing before. So that's the learn, and then you just learn over and over. You do this just over the years, because every single time that you iterate and you find something that's better for you, that works better for you, you become a better player. You find the optimal way to train for yourself. And this is what the process that people who have been in lacrosse for a long time do, whether they think about it or not. And most of this comes from external rather than internal. So this whole process is internal. So you train, you track it, and you find what feels good for you. But what most people do, and which is good, they take advice they see from other people, and then they slowly apply to that to their training, see if it works, and if it does, it sticks. Now, what you need to be doing is combining both of that, because what most people do is they take the advice, they apply it and see if it works, and if it does, they keep it. But if you also combine that with changing your drills from like the ways that you experiment with them, you kind of get this double effect, and you find the optimal plan, the optimal drills for yourself early in your career. Because the earlier you can do this, the earlier you can find a plan or drills or whatever it is that works for you, a way of training that works for you early in your career, you can then like max out working that way, and then you'll just improve so much faster. And this is kind of like back to science, with the science example. When a researcher does get the desired outcome, they then sell it, or it gets produced on a mass scale, whatever drug it is, it gets just done over and over and over and over again. So once you get it, it's this really gratifying feeling, and you can just know you're going to get better when you go out and you use the drills that work for you. And let me be clear, there's no perfect training plan. Like there's not like some like perfect formula that you can get and you're just going to skyrocket. But you can get close. Like you can get drills that really work for you. And then when you iterate, the improvements will be really small, or the regresses will be really small, but it still matters. So it's an ever-long process, but the beginning kind of looks like this very steep improvement over time, and it slowly levels out and levels out and levels out and levels out. So what you want to do is you want to get to that leveling out period as fast as possible. And if you can get there when you're like a freshman, a sophomore in high school, you're beating everyone else. Because most players never get there until they get to college, when college coaches actually tell them what to do, and then they improve so much. This is a big reason why when you step onto a college field, you just get so much better, because you're playing the right way. Obviously there's competition, obviously you want to prove yourself, but it's not just that. It's being in the right process. I remember when I first stepped onto a college lacrosse team, the fact it was mostly like lifting, but with the like having a sheet of lifts that was just given to me that I could follow, that I know would help me improve, what just took this huge mental load off of me, and I could just walk into the gym, follow it, and know I'll get stronger. Because the person who was making this lifting plan for me, it was their job to make me stronger. So I kind of put my trust in their hands and was like, I get it. Like, you know so much more than I do. I'm just going to follow your plan, and I'm going to improve. And the game with you is finding what that plan is, finding what the drills are, and just maxing out on it. Because once you do, again, like I just said, it takes this mental load off of you that you could be doing the wrong drills, or should I be conditioning? Should I be sprinting today? How much should I be shooting today? Because that's hard. And it's a lot of the reason why when I was in high school, I wouldn't train, because I wouldn't say I wouldn't train, but I would put off training when I walked onto the field, because I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I'd be like, well, I don't want to do speed work today, but then I also conditioned yesterday, so should I just do stick work today? But stick work's not enough. And you get in this mental debate in your head, and that just saps your energy, and you get nothing out of it. So to recap, all it is tracking your training, changing something every 2 weeks or so, and then seeing whether you feel better, you feel worse, you see more improvement, you see less improvement. And this is also, it's not like scientific, it's not going to be perfect, but it's kind of go by feel, like what feels good for you. Because also, if it feels good for you, then it's something you'll do more often. If you do more often, you're going to get better. And then you learn from your notes, right? Take copious notes on how drills feel, how they make you improve, and you can just, it kind of becomes this log you can go back on over and over and over. If you can do that, you'll just be so far ahead of so many players without training any harder. Like you're just tracking, you're just changing the way you train. So you're not training any harder. You're just changing what you do on a daily basis. So here's the thing. That's the process I spent 5 years doing. And then when I got to college, I went through it again. And now with this YouTube channel, I've spent thousands of hours watching film, dissecting it, finding what makes players tick. And I've spoken to hundreds of D1 lacrosse players, finding what drills work for them. And I compiled all of that into the Gile Blueprint. The Gile Blueprint is this plan that we've been talking about. Now, you could spend your time, your years experimenting and trying to get better and trying to find the optimal plan for yourself. But I can promise you that the Gile Blueprint at least gets you 90-95% of the way there. It will give you the base. It will give you every drill that you could possibly need, and you can experiment a little bit on top of that to find what exactly works for you. But if you want to walk to the field and just show up and have a plan of exactly what you need to do to know you'll improve, that's what the Gile Blueprint's for. If you want to just work hard, not have to think about any drills, that's all it is. And I can promise you'll get better. If you don't, I'll refund every single penny for you. So it's a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you don't feel like you're seeing improvement, just email us, email me, and we'll refund all of your money.